A few years ago, my daughter and her next door neighbor decided to come to the ranch where my daughter kept her horse and where she did horseback riding lessons. And we were at the ranch, and her next door neighbor wanted to see what Devin did with her horse and just kind of be around him. Well, we got the horse tacked up, got the bridle on, and Devin went out into the arena and started doing her riding lessons. Now Flash, her horse, was a well-trained English hunter-jumper horse. He could do anything you asked him to. He knew lots of different cues, so he was a very well-trained horse. Well, it was a hot summer afternoon, and about 3/4 of the way through the lesson, my daughter's friend said, "When can I ride?" Well, my daughter looked at her friend and she said, "You can't ride this horse." And I thought that was a pretty neat statement myself, because I was not about to let her friend get on Flash, because this girl had never ridden a horse before. And so my daughter was correct in saying that she couldn't ride that horse. She wasn't being rude. She was just telling her friend that you don't have the ability to ride this horse. Because Flash was very well trained, but he was not a pleasure horse. He just wasn't the kind of horse that you could jump on and just ride around the arena for a few minutes, you know. If you gave him the wrong cue, you might end up in a full canter and not know how to stop him until you hit the dirt. If you fell off of him, then he would stop. But my daughter was being polite when she said, "You can't ride this horse." Many times in our Christian lives, we're not prepared for what's coming. We're not prepared to live the life that Christ wants us to live. Sometimes we're not always prepared for the things that come at us. If we witness to a friend or a family member and they reject it, we may not know how to accept that no. Even though it's not our place to try to make them believe, it's our job just to tell them about Jesus and what He's done in our life. I want to read you a verse that I found that I thought was very appropriate for what we do in Cowboy Church, because we're always trying to make things relevant to the cowboy or the equestrian or maybe the cowboy at heart. Now, this verse comes out of Jeremiah chapter 12, verse 5. "If you have raced with runners and they have worn you out, how can you compete with horses?" How can you compete with horses? I read this verse in one of my devotions a few weeks ago, and I thought, man, that makes a lot of sense to me. Because my wife and I, when we started planting churches, we had to get ourselves prepared to do that. We prayed a lot. We studied our Bible. And we spent a lot of time in Christian fellowship around other church planters and around people that knew what to expect because they had been there. They had done it. And they knew some of the pitfalls. Now, as we started planting churches, we ran into some obstacles that we didn't even see coming. We ran into obstacles from people that I thought would end up being my friend, but instead, it just didn't work out that way. And so, if I just wanted everything hunky-dory, if I'd expected everything just to run smoothly all the time, I'd have quit a long time ago. And so it is in our Christian faith. Many times, if we climb on a horse and we're unprepared, we might find ourselves with not enough rein and too much ground between us and the saddle and the ground. If I'm going to take a horse out on the trail, I want to make sure that that horse understands what can happen on a trail. If I'm taking him out for the first time, I had better be prepared to accept his reaction to things he's never come across. If we're walking through the woods and all of a sudden the limb snaps back and hits him, if that's never happened to him before, I might end up walking back and meeting him at the barn. But if he's been on the trail for a number of times, it won't bother him. A limb might snap or a limb might hit him on the side. He won't do a thing about it. He'll just know, oh, been there, done that before. In our Christian life, we need to be practiced. We need to be prepared. And we need to be poised for our Christian life. Actually, let me turn some two around. We need to be prepared first. We need to prepare ourselves for a Christian walk, our Christian lives. And preparation comes from, first and foremost, a right relationship with Jesus Christ. Have you asked Jesus into your life as your Lord and Savior? Have you asked Him to come and take up first place in your life? If not, maybe today is the day to do that. Get your life right with God. Have a right relationship with Him by saying, God, I admit I'm a sinner. I've made mistakes. And then believe that Jesus gave us the gift of forgiveness and that He's God's Son. Believe that Jesus is God's Son and accept His gift of forgiveness. And then you want to commit your life to living for Him every day. Commit your life to living for Jesus through your actions, your words, your fellowship, the time you spend in the Bible.